Hi, this video is about testing GPT-4's ability to pick stocks. And there's a really curious thing that you get when you have the fact that it only goes through, I think, September 2021. What you can actually do is you can actually have it pick based upon all the historical data from that point and then see where it goes from there. And so I have it pick a bunch of stocks, and you have to do it in a kind of a roundabout way. I'm going to show you what I did. And then I'm going to show you, I have some calculations right here, and I'm going to give you my conclusion as to, did it pick well based upon the data. And if you don't know who Benjamin Graham is, he was an investor, a great investor who wrote this really awesome book on investing. And I think it's called The Intelligent Investor, and he was a mentor of Warren Buffett. So a great person to model their investing behavior after. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of different ways to frame this to where you might get very different responses, but let's just see what it did. So first of all, in almost every single one, it's like, I cannot provide real-time stock advice. However, I can, and then kind of just for fun, it gives me company A, B, and C, like the types of companies that it's looking for. And so I tried out, I copied just the first one, and I thought, okay, well, give me a list of companies that would qualify for that. Again, blah, blah, blah. And then it gives me a list of 10 companies. And so then I do a bulk asking for 5 companies for each of the following criteria. It gives a list of companies based upon that, blah, blah, blah. And then I had to have it continue. And then I had it build a table for me. Actually, I had to kind of format the table. It was funny because I wanted to add a blank row between each one, and that'll make sense in a second. And so I used ChatGPT to actually create the code for the looping through the rows. So I did a record macro, and then I went in and I had some sample code from me doing it like 3 times, and the code worked the first time to actually add a row to each one. So very useful. So let's jump into the calculations. So there's a really neat feature, and I have it filtered out. Let's select all. That you get in Google Sheets, where you can do, where's the formula? I think it's actually hidden. Let me unhide this, just because it kind of looks junky. Where you can do equals Google Finance, you can put in the stock ticker, the price, and the date, and it will give you the close price at the end of the date, and actually kind of takes up 4 cells. That's why I've got several things hidden. So I'm gonna hide this column, and then I'm going to filter out the ones where it just says close. Okay, there we go. For some reason it didn't get some of these. Maybe they companies went, so we left those off the list. So basically what we did was we took the close on October 1st, so presuming the data goes through September through all the way of September. If it doesn't, it's not a big deal. And then I'm shooting this on May 1st, so the close on April 28th, 2023 is what I'm looking at. So these two, the stock price change, and then we do a percent change, and then we do a money left over if you invested $1,000 in just this one. And so for the entire range, that's 2.86%, but that's not necessarily good or bad. We have to compare that to, I think a reasonable thing to compare it to is just putting it in an index fund. And if we look at the same numbers for NASDAQ and S&P 500, they actually went down, NASDAQ more than the S&P 500. And so the total amount of money left over would be less. So in a sense, like, actually, this did a pretty good job. So I think that when the ChatGPT, when the plugin is available, I haven't checked. Let me check real quick. Yeah, I hadn't checked in a little bit, but the code interpreter is not there. Basically, what I think you could do is feed in, create a database. You could probably create a script that scrapes things, or there's maybe databases out there of like news and investment news and stock prices, and feed it into the model and do the exact same thing. And see what it would pick, and it seems like based upon this, it seems likely to beat. I think it beat it pretty soundly, especially, you look at the NASDAQ. That's a pretty big improvement. Now, maybe the S&P 500, maybe you just invest in that and you save yourself the time and energy. But I thought this was a fun test. I was very curious to see how it came out, and it comes out ahead, but not grossly so over like the S&P 500, which it would be very easy to just invest in index with no work. Also, maybe curious to see which ones it did the best. So let's sort Z to A. No, that didn't. I'm not sure why that didn't work. Hold on one second. Okay, Google Sheets is a little suboptimal for some of the stuff. So let's actually sort by largest to smallest. We can see what it got most right and what it got most wrong. And now maybe that some of this is just luck or chance, or just kind of happens to be. And then what it got wrong the most. GM. I'm not familiar with all like the news on these companies, but and just kind of also I can't comment on investments in general in terms of like how good are these picks other than how the data is coming out. It seems to have picked pretty much all big companies, although I recognize most of these companies, and so maybe that's also why it was pretty close to the S&P 500. Again, a few percentage points might be a huge deal for you. But I'd be curious to see if we could get it to pick, or if you could get it to pick smaller companies, avoid some of the much bigger companies where there's going to be less ability for it to make like a really great pick, for over almost a 2-year period for the best pick to be up 43%. That's good, but that's, I would expect that among how many total are we looking at? 51 picks, that at least one of them would do really, really well. Now the stock market hasn't done great overall, so maybe that's not a very fair assessment. I think it's fair, but maybe you disagree. Anyway, if you have any thoughts or comments or questions or ideas, please feel free to leave a comment below. I try to respond to as many of the comments as I can. Like this video if you like it, and subscribe for more awesome AI content. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.